JJ. Welcome to Alternatively Speaking. I'm JJ, otherwise known as the Practical Alchemist, and with me is Keren Brynes MacLean, medical herbalist of great repute here in Scotland. And we were going to record outside. We were going to do some great recordings of fabulous things that you can forage for at this time of year. But of course, the wind has got up and it is absolutely atrocious out there, isn't it? It's really absolutely bad. So we decided to come into the dispensary at Keren's clinic and talk about some of the herbs that she has here. So take it away, Keren. What are we looking at here? We've got a whole load of things behind us.
So this is my herbal dispensary. So most medical herbalists will have a dispensary with a number of herbs that they use for blending their medicines for clients. In my dispensary, I've got about 150 different herbs on the shelves. They're alcohol extracts, they're tinctures or fluid extracts. And the beauty of having them in liquid form is I can actually blend up individual bespoke prescriptions for people. You know, I don't have a big tablet factory that I can actually mix tablets up. And, I think the tinctures are really important because you get to taste the herbs, you get to interact with the sort of energy of the plant, the aromatic principles really come through. Whereas if you actually have a very sterile tablet, what do you get? You don't get that flavour, you don't get that essence of the plant. So we have that ability to mix medicines, we really taste our medicines, and they're really highly absorbed as well.
Yeah, is it better then than taking a tablet? Because tablets also have other stuff in them to make them into tablets, don't they?
Yeah, well, they don't have fillers and binders. You can get capsules that don't have fillers and binders. There's a time and a place for both. Yeah. I do have herbal tablets on my shelves, but when you're working in a situation like I am in herbal medicine clinic and trying to individualise treatments, that's when the beauty of using a herbal dispensary like this really comes into its own.
Yeah.
Because people come in with complex medical conditions and we're looking for lots of different actions when we're trying to get somebody feeling better again. Whereas maybe a herbal tablet, a lot of the ones on the market might just have one herb.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, it might have several effects to it, but if somebody comes in to say have a treatment for something like headaches, I might be treating their digestive system as well. They might be a bit constipated. There might be a herb in there for the liver. And so by having that ability to mix a very holistic prescription, we can work in a very holistic way with someone.
Yeah, and so it's a little bit like those old school apothecaries where they would be mixing potions and doing this, that and the other, and they would also probably have been making pills and tablets and stuff like that as well. But it's that old tradition of just mixing what somebody needs in one dose of whatever tincture, and then that hopefully will help. So what have we got here now? We've got tinctures behind us, but I see we've got a whole load of herbs, dried herbs in front of us here. But so you do a bit of both as well, don't you? So you'll mix up a tea.
I'll mix up teas for people as well. So sometimes I'll use, a tincture for the main part of a prescription, and maybe a herbal tea is a little bit of an adjunct to that. So, I've got some herbs that are urinary antiseptic herbs. So if somebody has tendency to cystitis, I might use those. Sometimes with the respiratory problems, I'll use herbs for a tea rather than a tincture or a combination of both, because some of those mucilaginous herbs, expectorant herbs that really loosen and moisten things, actually work better as a herbal tea.
Yeah. So it depends on what's wrong with you, what you get.
Yeah. And occasionally I get people that are either sensitive to alcohol or will not use alcohol for religious reasons. So, if I have a Muslim client, I know that you can have alcohol as a preservative and it is accepted by some people, but some people do not like to have alcohol at all.
No.
And that's when I would tend to use the herbal teas as well. But as you can see, I've got maybe about 40 herbs in herbal teas. I've got 150 here. So I've got much more variety of herbs in the dispensary. And actually, some of those herbs are so bitter, I wouldn't like to give it as a herbal tea. So things like andrographis. I'll let you taste something. Andrographis.
Do I want to if it's that bitter?
Well, actually, bitter's really good for us. Bitter stimulates taste receptors in our mouth. It stimulates the whole digestive system.
Oh, okay.
So bitter herbs tone the sphincters. They stimulate the flow of bile, and they do stimulate the immune system as well. So this herb here is andrographis.
What does that do?
It's a really, really good immune herb. So It's fantastic
Not
for
giving you
all.
very much there.
I'm not giving you very much. You don't need very much. So it's known as King of Bitters.
Mhm.
Actually, golden seal's known as King of Bitters as
Oh,
well.
is it? That's a herb that you can actually just pick, out in the fields and stuff, isn't it? Golden seal. No, is that
Golden
not?
seal is an endangered plant now in the
Oh,
wild.
is it?
Yeah. So I do have golden seal in my
Ah.
dispensary. It actually comes from special cultivated stocks. It takes 7 years for golden seal to mature.
Oh, right. I didn't
So it's been
realise
over
that.
harvested.
Yeah.
And therefore endangered. So I do
I'm
buy
glad I
it.
brought that up now then, because
Yeah. I do buy it in. I do keep it in the dispensary because sometimes it is the herb that I want to use.
Yeah.
But it costs me £100 a litre to buy golden seal. And I actually bought some golden
Wow.
seal powder recently because my dog had a cyst on her paw. 25 grams of golden seal cost me £40. Trade price.
Good grief.
Yeah. So it's very expensive because it's slow to mature. Andrographis isn't just expensive. How
Right.
taste to that?
Bottoms up. It looks a little bit,
Well, it looks like looks a bit like a sample, doesn't it?
It does look like a sample. But let's give it a go. Oh wow, that is bitter.
Whoa, isn't it just?
Oh.
So
yeah,
when you take something bitter, what's happening? Salivation.
Saliva. Yeah.
So you're starting to salivate. It's stimulating saliva. It's stimulating. So through that sort of process, it's actually stimulating digestive enzymes through your gut.
Wow.
But andrographis is, you've drank the whole lot. I just had a little sip.
I'll take it a bit. I knocked it back.
Andrographis is a fantastic immune tonic. And it's one that I would tend to use for people if they've got viruses that just aren't shifting. You get this feeling that they're hanging around in the liver a little bit. Well, andrographis is great at shifting that. Or any sort of gut infections. It's one that I will use for COVID, because COVID hangs around. And of course, the latest strain of COVID has been causing quite a lot of gastric issues with people. So great anti-inflammatory for the gut here as well. But that's your bitter. I'm still wetting my mouth.
Can we have something to take the taste away, please?
What can we take the taste away with? What would you like? Something aromatic?
Yeah, that would be lovely.
A little bit of thyme. How about that?
Oh yeah, that's nice. I like thyme, yeah.
Well, thyme's another great one, which of course, andrographis, you're not going to find it growing locally or growing in your garden, but a lot of people do have thyme growing in the garden. And
various kinds of thyme as well. I mean, there's so many different types of thyme these days.
Let's just get a little bit of water.
Yeah.
Thyme, like many of our aromatic herbs that we use in cooking, is a great antiseptic. When we ingest this, so once we absorb this into our bloodstream, so into the stomach first of all, into the bloodstream, suddenly we have these aromatic compounds in our blood. They're not meant to be there.
Wow. Okay.
So your body will go, let's get rid of this. This is foreign. It's not meant to be here. Let's get rid of, and you get rid of thyme through the lungs and through the kidneys. So as it's passing out through the lung tissue, it's expectorant and antiseptic, and likewise through the kidneys.
That's interesting, isn't it? That's fascinating. And I love the smell. I love the smell of thyme.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous.
So if you had thyme in a tablet pressed into a white pill, you wouldn't get this.
I know. That's the thing, isn't it? I mean, that's part of it as well, isn't it? Just being able to smell it and enjoying it and knowing that it's going to do you good. Or should we have a go? It also looks a little bit like a sample because Keren's been diluting these so that we can actually drink them.
You can taste the antiseptic, can't you?
Oh, you really can. But there's that lovely kind of aromatic thing going on right down all around the mouth and going back down through your throat, and also obviously because the nose and and your taste buds are connected, it's almost like you can smell it. It's beautiful.
It's really fresh.
It's really fresh. Yeah, really. Actually, that is the word. It's refreshing. Refreshing.
Yeah.
Which I didn't expect.
I use a lot of thyme in my clinic. I use lots of rosemary. I use lots of sage. These really good aromatics. They're really invigorating and uplifting. So thyme's good for depression and low mood.
So, and when you eat thyme, so if you have thyme in your garden and you pick some thyme and you eat it, you don't get the same effect as this.
Of course you would.
it's not quite the same though, is it?
Tastes different. That's more
Yeah.
concentrated. And
That's
you're just
what I
taking
mean.
that one thing. Whereas
Yeah.
thyme, you would.
I mean, I
You
don't
have
mean
your-
the same effect on your body. I mean the same effect in the mouth.
Oh yeah, it's different because it's going to be diluted down with other things. Unless you made a nice strong thyme infusion, so you could grab some thyme,
Yes.
chop it up into a mug with boiling water, but make sure and cover the top of the mug up. Because if you allow that steam to evaporate, you're going to carry off a lot of those aromatics.
Yeah.
But thyme's a really nice tea. It's really
It is
good
a nice
antiseptic.
tea. Yeah, and that's where you do get that effect. Yeah, but if you just sort of chomp on a bit that you've picked out of the garden, it's not quite the same.
Yeah, I think this tends to feel like it gives you it's a bit more mouthfeel.
Yes,
to it.
exactly.
Now we're talking about aromas. This is one of my favourite herbs to use. Not an immune herb this time, but get your nose around that. Oh. look at the expression on JJ's face. I know this is one of our favourite plants.
I know. It is. So what do we do with that then?
Well, that is Damascen rose.
It's beautiful.
It is
absolutely
really comforting. So rose is a hug in a mug. It really is amazing. It's very comforting. I use it for lifting mood. It's really good for anxiety, depression, feeling griefy. So I'll often use it for people when they're working through that process of bereavement. Use it in menopause. Menopause is great for hot flushes and really good for women who can't take HRT. So very cooling, very comforting. So anyone that's had a breast cancer diagnosis that is on an estrogen blocker like tamoxifen could use rose to help with hot flushes, but it also helps with the emotions as well. Because I think menopause is, a time of, there's a lot of letting go, and I guess grieving for the old self, the fertile self as you're moving through. So I think it helps with that. And for a woman who's working through breast cancer, there can often not be a loss there as well. There could be a loss through lumpectomy, mastectomy, whatever.
There
there could be a grieving.
Grief goes on around that, isn't there?
Yeah. So a really lovely, comforting herb. In that situation. I'm going to let you have another sniff. It's a bit of a scratch and sniff session, this, but it is lovely to be in amongst the herbs.
Scratch and sniff radio and TV, radio and video. But I was just going to say though about roses. I love the rose plants, and those that's just a gorgeous perfume. But it's not just the rose flower and the petals; it's the hips, and we're at the time of year now where the rose hips have really come on. And I'm going to be out gathering rose hips very soon. In fact, this weekend, and making some rose hip syrup.
Well, it's also elderberry time.
Oh no, it is. Yeah,
elderberry syrup, and the other thing, of course, and we did talk about this in a previous show, was hawthorn. We made hawthorn ketchup, so it's hawthorn ketchup time.
It is,
and it's one of those ingredients that I put into my sort of bologneses and things like that, just to give it that extra layer of flavour. And
we were looking out your kitchen window earlier, and the rowan trees are absolutely ready for picking. And rowan jelly is a traditional thing to go with cooked meats and things like that, but rowan also has a benefit to
it's good for your heart. So in Russia they use rowan berry like we would use hawthorn berry here, so cardiac tonic, so vasodilator, it's full of bioflavonoids that are really good for the circulatory system. So there is so much out there right now that we can make use of that really will help. And of course the sloe berries are coming through as well. Sloe berries. When I used to drink alcohol, I used to make sloe gin. And it was it did taste a little bit like coffee mixture, but it was really, really good for you. It's fantastic. Yeah, like a sloe gin. And what I do is, they say that you should wait until the first frost before you pick your sloes. I pick my sloes and then I put them in the freezer because we've got a way to create our own frost nowadays. Because I think if you wait until the first frost, often the sloe will be gone by then. So, but you need to be careful picking sloes because blackthorn, if you get a blackthorn splinter, it's very sore. They are very spiny. It's very toxic. Is it toxic? Oh yeah, really, really. Out of all the thorns, you need to be really careful with it. If you get a blackthorn splinter, there's a good chance you'll get sepsis from it. So be really careful if you are picking sloe berries. Do it with gloves. Gloves on, gardening gloves on. Yeah. And actually, JJ, the other berry that's out at the moment is sea buckthorn. Yes. Absolutely wonderful. Yeah. Again, quite difficult to harvest, but fantastic. You probably noticed in my yogurt lunch I put some extra things in it, and one of them is a sea buckthorn powder. Yeah. It's really highly antioxidant. It is. It's great. Really good for you. And you can freeze the juice if you press it and sort of whiz it up and juice it. You can freeze that and use it throughout the year.
or make, I guess if you could dry it yourself and make a powder out of it, but it's a bit of a faff. I mean, just harvesting sea buckthorn is
I know.
a complete faff, but it's so worth it. Yeah.
But yeah,
Very
I would only dehydrate it if you have a really good quality dehydrator, though, because it'd be a shame to go through all that effort of harvesting it and then not dehydrate it properly and just end up with
mush.
Some mouldy mush.
Yeah, exactly. But I interrupted you. You were going to do something else.
I was going to get some valerian for you to have a sniff of.
Oh,
I
valerian.
love valerian.
Well, give me a sniff of it, but don't give me any because I might fall asleep. Let's have a sniff. Yeah, you see, now I also love valerian. It's a herb that I have used over many years now, and in the olden days when I was younger, but in the past, what I've done, the way I bought valerian is to just buy the dried root, and I would make a tea out of the dried root, but it just smells like that.
It's really earthy and
very
pungent.
earthy and pungent. And some people can't stand the smell of it, but my word, it's really potent.
It is really potent stuff.
Beautiful herb.
Yeah. It's a bizarre one because I really like the smell of it, but on one level it makes me think of like smelly socks at the same time. It's a real sort of bizarre thing when you don't know what it is and you get a whiff of valerian in a room. It can be a bit, what is that? But actually, when I know what I'm smelling, that's lovely.
I love it. And I tell you what, the other thing, cats love it as well.
Well, I can always tell if it's in somebody's medicine. I've had people come back saying, well, I smelled a little bit of my medicine and my cat licked it up, and I sort of think, I don't need to look at your card. I know you've got valerian in there. Yeah.
Cats love it. Catnip, absolutely, but valerian, oh my word, they go nuts for it.
Yeah, well, I once bagged up catnip and valerian in little bags at Christmas time for my friends' cats, called them pussy potions. And they just really, really enjoyed them.
They do. They'll chew on the twigs. If you have the twigs of it, they'll chew on those and they'll love it.
But valerian's a really interesting herb because for some people it works incredibly well, incredibly relaxing. So you're saying, don't give it to me, it'll make me fall asleep.
Yeah.
If I take valerian, I would tend to use it in a situation where I'm sort of stressed and sort of, probably we're talking about that earlier on, that vata sort of situation that, you're all stirred up and you can't focus. Well, I find valerian's really grounding and earthing.
Yeah.
And it
makes sense.
Really centres me. Some people find it really stimulating. And
do they?
Yeah, so some people can't metabolize it very well. And instead of it relaxing them, it sends them into an absolute hype. Can't sleep, feel overstimulated and anxious. And I think that's to do with liver COMT pathways. So COMT is one of the sort of phase 2 pathways in the liver, and some people have got fast COMT pathways and some people have got slow COMT pathways. And I think people that have got fast COMT pathways don't sit very well with valerian. They don't sit very well with rhodiola either. So if you're somebody that reacts quite strongly to valerian, it could be that you've got a bit of a fast COMT pathway going on. And maybe you want to read around that subject a little bit. Massive subject, really complex, but it can reveal a lot about individual metabolism of herbs, foods, and even supplements that you take as well.
Interesting, isn't it? And valerian is such an invasive plant as well, because the garden varieties still have those properties, don't they? Or do they?
Well, I don't know about the property of that red valerian. I've never really looked at that, but I mean, I've got valerian in my garden.
Yeah.
It's that really tall, willowy and then the lovely pink flower head. We can get a picture to put at the back of this if you want, if it's still in flower. But it loves to grow damp places, so we see it growing here along the river.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we've got a bit of Himalayan balsam around here, which of course is truly invasive and really knocks out all the local species. But there is some nice valerian growing around.
Yeah, well, I must look up actually whether that's also as efficacious as the herb valerian, as opposed to the garden. Yeah. Although some people do, I think I used to have the officinalis in my garden, in my herb garden many years ago, and but I'll have to look that up and see whether that's a thing. But I see so much of it around here because it spreads so easily. This time of year, I guess, when the seeds, because it's also one of those plants that has seeds that get born on the wind, and like dandelions, so it gets everywhere. But I think it's a lovely plant as well, and it will grow out of, like buddleia, it will grow out of walls.
Is that the garden one then, the red one? Yeah. I've never seen the wild valerian doing that, but I guess it depends.
The garden one does, though, certainly, yeah.
So it likes a different soil then. It's happier and dry.
Must be.
Yeah.
That's your phone.
That's my phone doing its thing. Right, I'm going to go and just nip away for a second, JJ. Shush.
Yes, yeah. So anyway,
I don't know why it chirrups occasionally. Technology.
We had this problem. We had this problem earlier with her phone, but yeah. So just ignore that bit. So what else? What else are we looking at today? I mean, maybe there's something that we should think about because it's autumn. You know, we're going into winter. Is there anything that we can take as a prophylactic? In other words, something that will help us not get any of the colds and flus that people talk about in winter?
Well, we touched on elderberry before, so definitely some elderberry is a good idea. I also love a bit of olive leaf. So olive leaf can be a great extract that has a direct antiviral activity. I like using a combination. So elder and olive will directly target the virus, but you also want to stimulate your own innate immune response. So that's where you would use things like echinacea, or you might use some andrographis, or you might even use some of your medicinal mushrooms. And of course, this time of year, we always end up talking about mushrooms, JJ, but we're in mushroom season. So even just eating communal garden mushrooms, button mushrooms, mushrooms from the supermarket will help to stimulate your immune system.
Yeah.
But if you can get out there and get some wild mushrooms, if you got your ID absolutely 100% and you know what you're doing, and a bit of wild mushroom coming in would be a great idea as well.
But that's really important to get your ID 100% because, you know, some mushrooms that look like they might be edible absolutely are not, and you don't want to get any stomach problems or any other kind of problems from eating mushrooms.
And actually, JJ, it's the same for everything. Make sure even when you're gathering plants, there are some really toxic plants out there as well. So even things like, you know, in the springtime, you're gathering wild garlic, you have to make sure that you're not gathering snowdrop leaves. You know, they can be quite toxic.
That's true,
you know, so you always have to be really switched on, or make sure it's not lord and ladies that you're picking with the wild garlic. So, you know, I would say only ever 100% certainty that you actually take something. Now, I've got a relationship with a Miller mushroom that I know it, and I'm 99.9% sure that I know exactly what Miller is, where it grows, how it smells. I've never eaten it because it's one of those that can kill you. And, you know, it grows next to seps, and I've found them with seps, but there's that little bit of hesitancy, and I sort of think, because I'm not 100%, I'm not going to do it. I want to go out with a really experienced mushroom forager and then go, you are 100%, and then I'll happily ingest it. So, you know, even I'm a fairly confident mushroom hunter, I would say, but that's one that I hold back on all the time because I'm only at 99.9%. So,
well, it's best to be safe rather than sorry. And you know, we both are really big into foraging. Just say, but both of us are very careful about what we pick, and if we don't know what it is, we just leave it, because there's no point in picking something, taking something from the wild, and then, you know, making yourself ill because you've just found the wrong thing. Now, there are certain apps that you can use, you know, Google Maps as well, or not Google Maps, but if you take a photograph through Google of something, it will tell you what it is. It's quite a good identifier.
But I wouldn't rely on it 100%.
But don't rely on it 100%.
I would say always look for 2 or 3 resources when you're trying to identify.
Exactly. So just to make sure, but there are things that you can use if you're new to it, but just make sure that you do cross-reference, make sure that you're 100% sure of what you're eating, and know that certain things aren't great to eat. For instance, elderberries raw
can be difficult. Yeah.
So I found that out myself once.
Cook them up. You could actually cook them into crumble, or, you know, make them into a tincture and just infuse them a little bit, or make a syrup. So cook them up into a syrup, and they're much better.
And they're much better, exactly. I love them in crumble with apple or something like that.
Like brambles.
Yes. Anyway, we're getting carried away here now.
Well, they say that food should be a medicine, don't they?
So, they do. And it should be, and that's exactly what we should be doing. So that's all great. Well, is there anything else that you want to show us before we finish here?
What should I show you?
We can always come back another time and do another one of these.
Yes. What would I like to share with you? I know one last herb. This isn't one that you're going to be finding locally. This is a fantastic herb for the digestive system.
Just hold it up a bit, like just see the colour of it, because it's a beautiful colour.
No.
What is that?
This is asafoetida.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, now that's of an ingredient in curries.
It is.
Yeah.
And the reason it goes into curries
And
is...
the smell of it, oh,
You know what it's called? Devil's dung.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really sulphurous.
Yeah.
I quite like asafoetida. So when I'm making... Oh, look, very different colour from... That's like a cloudy urine this time.
Yeah. But the smell of it...
Yeah, if you put a sample like that into your GP, you're going to be with some
you'd have a
antibiotics.
problem, yeah. But the smell of it smells like...
It's very sulphurous. It's a bit garlicky, isn't it?
But it smells like curry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you're making dals or cooking with lentils and pulses, it'll actually stop you getting bloated and windy from it. So it helps the digestive system. It's a really good carminative. So it's great for griping, rumbles and grumbles in the gut. And you can buy it, so from halal stores, etc. You can buy sort of compound asafoetida, which is a yellow powder. And that's what I'll put in when I'm cooking my Indian food. Yeah, but
yes. Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah. Whoa, that's got a really interesting flavour, hasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know I don't know how you describe that.
Pungent. There's a pungency there.
That's one word. Pungent is one word. It's not. It smells of curry, but it doesn't taste of curry. It's pungent.
There's
a sulphurous taste. It tastes. Oh, how can I describe it? It's really interesting.
It's very unusual, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that would sit really nicely with things like fennel and cardamom, cinnamon, all these lovely sort of aromatics that we get from Asian cuisine.
Yeah.
They're, again, all have been used because of the medicinal compounds.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They're really, really good for digestion.
Yeah. It almost is like the rough end of some of those spices, like the rougher end of, I don't know, cumin and do you know what I mean about that? It's very difficult to explain.
Well, it's not got the sweetness that you'd get from some of those spices. Yeah, exactly. So coriander or cardamom or cumin might have a little bit of a sweet element to it as well, and it doesn't have that. It just has a pungency in there.
Yeah. And that sort of almost like a grassiness in there. Yeah, very, very interesting. But excellent.
So you can see we've got plants from all over the world. And I do use a lot of indigenous plants. You know, I've got plantain, nettle, dandelion, a lot of our medicinal weeds. But we've also got plants from other countries as well. So I have a few Chinese herbs here, a few African herbs, etc. So we tend to draw on that whole sort of global tradition of herbal medicine.
Fabulous. I love it.
It just gives us that wide range of therapeutics. You know, people will often say to me, why does my doctor not talk about that? Or why does my doctor not discuss this with me? And doctors work within their toolkits.
Yeah.
And so they have a very sort of, modern medicine, very narrow point of view and trying to reach that sort of diagnosis. And this is the drug that we give for that diagnosis, or these clinical pathways that are followed. Whereas because we have plants that have this really wide-ranging effect and we can polypharmacy with people, then we tend to broaden our thinking with how we're working as well. So your tools dictate your thinking processes, I think, when it comes to medicine.
I think that's interesting as well. And your doctor will be looking at one bit of you and treating that bit of you often, whereas as a medical herbalist, you're treating the whole.
We try and treat the whole. Yeah. So, you're trying to look at that interaction between everything. So, one prescription may contain something for your circulation, for your gut, for your liver, for your nervous system. And, we try and look at where the imbalances are and try and then correct them.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. So if anybody wants to find out more about your work and maybe consult you, you work from your place, your home. Now you've got a lovely little consulting room here as well.
I've got a consulting room in the garden, and then I've got the dispensary in this inside the house.
The Garden Herbalist is how Keren is known. So where do people find out more about you and your work? You've got social media channels, that sort of stuff.
I've got social media channels, but you can access them through my website, and the website is www.thegardenherbalist.co.uk.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. It's a lovely website as well, and so you do talk about lots of different herbs, and so do head along to Keren's website, and you do have a YouTube channel as well, don't you?
I've got a YouTube channel. Well, I've got a YouTube channel because you helped me put it together, and we did some filming for that. But actually, back in 2020.
That was a long time ago.
When things were starting to open up again after the pandemic.
Yeah.
So there's a YouTube channel, and I do Facebook and Instagram, and I am starting to get into doing some blogging as well. But when time allows me.
Brilliant.
Because I'm very, very busy in clinic. But I do face-to-face appointments, and I do also offer Zoom consultations as well.
Exactly. So
I am fairly accessible to anyone that's in the UK.
Yeah, and you can post stuff out to people in the UK as well, which
Absolutely.
is brilliant. So do head along to that. And I will put all the links down in the description box below. So if you are interested, then do get in touch with Keren. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Thank you very much to Keren for allowing me into her. It's almost like a candy store, but it's really healthy and good for you.
Candy store.
Thank
or
you.
a healthy bar.
A healthy bar, yeah. It's like we've been tasting fine wine, but we haven't. And if you want to see more of this, actually, let us know. If you've enjoyed this video, please do like, subscribe for more, share, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. Go on to Keren's channel as well and have a look at what's there. And hopefully you'll come back for more. If you subscribe, you'll know when we put another video up here. But for now, thank you so much for watching. So it's goodbye from me and Keren.
And it's goodbye from me too, yeah. I was going to say goodbye from him, but that's going back.
No. See you on the next one.
Okay, bye for now.